Hey, I'm Leather Rokk, and you're not. And I'm about to bleach my roots out. I realize I don't have a couple extra days to do this because after tomorrow morning, I'm not going to have bathroom access at will like most civilized humans do. So let's get started. And I hope you can hear me okay. Even though it's raining right now, there's still some activity because this is a Friday night in the ghetto after all, and it is now exactly 12 noon for witching hour. And since we got activity courtesy of our local friendly neighborhood gangbangers, I got a fan to blot out some of the noise. So yes, it is the witching hour, and I've got my 30 volume peroxide and I've got my powder that I mix it with. I got my rubber gloves. I've got a glass bowl. And very importantly, I have plastic spoon because you know you can't have metal involved when you're dealing with these chemicals. Hi, Phil. Good evening to you. I hope you can hear me as I move this thing around. Oh, I better get that plastic spoon. Hold on. Here we go. And you know what? I've got one final swill of this decaf coffee. Mm. Oh, by the way, I got to show this off. This cup here is supposed to be a hand warmer cup. Oh, I'm mostly English. That's my ancestry. Can you tell? I had my family tree done. My family has been here in America since the early 1600s. We came over from those very early ships. So my heart goes out to merry old England, okay? So I love British people. But anyway, the guy that gave me this, unfortunately, he passed away. He died of COVID. He lived in rural Illinois, and he was only 61 years old when he died. I got to mention this that he didn't trust the vaccine, so he didn't get it, and he caught COVID and he died. And he died, I think, around the time of my parents' wedding anniversary, which would have been like the 28th of December or something. Or maybe he died a couple of days after the New Year. I forget. But anyway, he sent me and my mom each one of these. And the other day, my mother found a Christmas card he'd gotten me that I misplaced a couple of years ago that had $100 bill in it. And yes, this is legal tender in case any of y'all counterfeiters want to stop this. And please, I'm just joking. I don't want YouTube to kick me off for advocating that. But yeah. But anyway, the man's name was Jim. He's dead. He was a good friend. And anyway, but on the subject of COVID, I haven't gotten my booster shot because now I'm starting to wonder. But I better not say too much about that because COVID doesn't like people. I mean, YouTube doesn't like us talking about stuff that, you know how it goes. I'm just trying not to get kicked off the platform. But here's a plastic spoon. And oh, you know what I forgot? Yeah, I'm afraid to get the latest one. And I'm not bothering with the oh, what's the other thing that people get? The not pneumonia. Yeah, even though people do get that. The flu shot. I'm not probably getting that. And they have this other thing that I'm not old enough for called RSV. I'm not getting that thing. So, but you know what? I just realized something. I forgot the measuring thing. But you know what? I'm going to live a little dangerously. I'm not even going to bother measuring it. The only measuring cup that's really important is this for the powder. I've been bleaching my hair out since I was 15 years old, okay? So, and I do have a half a term of beauty school education, so I could probably bleach my hair in my sleep. Even though at one point I may have to show my roots to my mother to have her take a look to see if I missed a spot, because sometimes I miss a spot. Because when you have your hands covered with the rubber gloves, you can't always feel if it's wet or if it's dry. So here's what I'm going to do. And this is a almost full bottle. And I'm going to pour this in. Uh, You think this looks like 4 ounces? Or I could actually run in the bathroom, I mean the kitchen, and go get the measuring cup. But you know what? I've been flying by the seat of my pants since I went out to California. So, and I really want to go back there. You guys know I do. Some more cups in it from other things of Bleach. They're actually bigger because this is a different brand than I had been using. But before that, even there was another brand that I used that I don't even think they make anymore called Wella Speedlight or Wella Cream Bleach. And that came with a liquid and a powder. And of course, you use a peroxide. When I first started lightening my hair, I only use 20 volume peroxide, but 30 volume, you have to put it on faster because it's a stronger bleach, and so it works faster. If you can't do a fast application, it's not a good idea to do 30 volume. But if you have a lot of red in your hair, red hair is more resistant, and it could actually take a real bright redhead longer to go down to lemon yellow than a person with brown hair, because you can get stuck in a red stage. So, oh, and I did forget my rubber gloves, but I'm going to do the mixing before I put the rubber gloves on. I hope you can hear me with the fan. I'm deliberately raising my voice a little bit. Thank you so much. Even with that idiot that threatened to unsub me and then go back and kill all those cats in Australia. By the way, I hid him from my channel, but I wrote down his username and I'm going to monitor. And if in fact he does make that video showing him kill the cats, and he said he's going to put my name on it, I'm going to report him. Because if YouTube is going to concern itself with us talking politics and us talking about our feelings, the least that YouTube can do is take seriously when people are torturing animals and doing things that are really, really untoward. And if people are going to judge me because I have a little bit of a preference to some species over others, oh well. So I like cats. So I like mice. So I like bats. I like them probably more than most humans, to be honest with you. But anyway, dumping this in, probably dumping it like that's not a good idea because you don't want this powder to get airborne, especially considering I have a fan running. Now, it's supposed to be 1 scoop for every 2 ounces or whatever the hell. I should actually look at the instructions again. But if you want to see how tiny the damn lettering is, and I can't find my excuse for reading glasses, which are actually supposed to be prescription glasses with bifocals, that with my health insurance, you would think I would get a decent eye exam. Because I have to be able to see to finally get my driver's license so I could drive again. But those glasses, I can't see out of the top of them better than my normal vision. So, because what I'm doing here, okay, it says 1 scoop per you know what? I'm just going to go by feel. I don't think I'm really going to screw up at this stage of the game. But the thing is, if it's not strong enough mixture, it'll just have to stay on longer. And I don't want to waste everybody's time by taking real long. Oh, just inhaled some of this. You know, I haven't inhaled a powder since a couple months after 9/11. Okay. And this wasn't the kind of powder I was sniffing. Please don't use my channel to babysit your kids, whatever you do. Occasionally, I do end up with family-friendly content, but you know, I have certain words that slip out of my mouth. They usually begin with F. Sometimes they begin with C. My mother doesn't appreciate it. They just slip out. And I do worry about if I end up on broadcast television, and I know they tend to have 5-second delays, and you got somebody that can bleep things out. But if you didn't have the habit in the first place, you wouldn't have to worry about it. And there was a great radio broadcaster who's dead now that I would have loved to have called his show and asked him for advice on how to refrain from using certain profanities when you absolutely cannot say them, such as, things involving the FCC. And yet I don't want to change how I speak. I don't want to turn into one of these goody two shoes that never says a bad word and my legs only go to my knees and all that stuff. I mean, that might be okay for people like my mother, but it's not my style. And I didn't go to Los Angeles to be a prude. I went to Los Angeles, well, to have a good time. And I don't think it should be bad to admit that. Now, if I'm wearing something that seems weird to you, it's because you want to wear something white when you're applying this because it will lighten fabric. And what I've got under here is actually kind of ugly. I don't like to do ugly on camera, okay? But these are actually sweatpants, and I rolled them up. So that's why, my usual turnaround, everything, my hoochie coochie, whatever. This is not glamorous stuff. I mean, the crackheads on the corner might be lucky if I throw this on to hang out, but I wouldn't be doing it in that rain tonight. And it's actually not as cold as you'd think. I was wondering why the furnace wasn't going on. And here, my mom said she checked the Weather Channel and it was like 50 degrees. Now, sometimes when I look on the lower corner of my screen where the weather is, sometimes I click it on out of curiosity and it turns out it was yesterday's weather. And I'm sure not going to mess with that now while I'm doing a live stream. So, okay, I'm going to wipe my hands off since I can't rinse it out right now. You know what? I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna wipe it off and I'm gonna put my rubber gloves on. Oh man, I really need to do this. I thought I had a couple more days. I wanted to bleach my hair out. I wanted to put the color in. I wanted to cut and color my mother's hair. And the thing is, my mom, she can't raise her legs to get over the bathtub. A lot of people, as they get older, they have problems stepping into a tub. That's why the walk-in tubs that go down on the ground are so popular. And they have these stair climbers and things that they have for people. But it's usually only practical if you're a homeowner and you're remodeling your house. When you're renting an apartment, that's just not a practical thing. Even though this place, I can't imagine them having any tenants after we finally move out, because who else would put up with this crap with the churches? Which, by the way, when I was out celebrating my birthday, I mean, not my birthday, my YouTube thing yesterday, that one of those awful churches was downstairs real loud. My mother said it was going on until a little bit after 11 at night. So from 6 until 11, the Spanish church was, and it's not about the language. It's about the fact that everything is so damn loud. And my mother won't stand up to them unless I'm putting a fire under her butt. And I guess she doesn't appreciate that. You know what? I think I better put one more scoop in. Things are getting a little airborne there. Oh, you want to see something? Some of my viewers were curious about something. Oh, yeah, this shirt from wish.com. I'm afraid to wear it because you know how when you sweat under the arms. But some people were curious about some of my altars. So I'm not showing too much of a close up. It's a little cluttered. Some of those were supposed to be miniature headstones for my cat's grave, but you got so many people going through that garden area, including random people from around here. People go there and drink and smoke crack and shoot up and God knows what else, and have something small that somebody might be tempted to walk away with, even though at one point I was told I could have headstones as big as 6 inches, you know. But when you're realizing that you're in a neighborhood where there's not so many things you can control, and let's face it, do I want to be stressing out about what's across the street or wherever when I'm trying to live my life and I can hardly see, I'm not enough to stress out about. But yeah. So here we go. Don't want to inhale this. Some people use a shaker bottle to apply this, but I find so much of it gets stuck inside the thing. And sometimes when people snip off the end so that the liquid could come out, it actually has rough edges that will snag on your hair and pull your hair out. And when your hair is wet, it will stretch. And if it's really porous, it could stretch like overcooked spaghetti. And early in my hair coloring life, I would occasionally apply a little too much or leave it on too long. Matter of fact, the very first time I lightened my hair, I didn't even use the right kind of peroxide. I used normal first day peroxide, and I bleached my hair out gradually because I didn't want my parents to notice. And that was really a bad idea because it's much worse to do a weaker solution and do it gradually. You do more damage that way. It's better to do a stronger solution that does it quicker, and you do it one time and you don't need to do it again until your roots grow out. But when you're 15, you're probably ignorant about a whole lot of things. And I sure was. And by the time I was 19, I knew everything. And if you have any 19-year-olds in your life, or if you're 19 yourself, you probably know everything too. So, yeah, you seem to have forgotten a whole bunch since then because I sure don't feel like I know a whole lot. But I am willing to share with you some things I have figured out. And at least whatever I think I can get away with, because YouTube does not let us share everything we want to, and neither does Facebook. So, okay. Now, I'm going to actually move this. First, I'm going to close this off and tie this, because this airborne powder is really not. And it doesn't taste like Coke or Speed, by the way. And I should say something cavalier, like, not that I should know, but I do know. So, put this back here. Then, and what's in this thing here is calamine lotion. That's what I'm actually wearing in lieu of a foundation. When you're a real ultra pale face like me, and especially considering I'm going to be showering this off anyway, I don't think I need to wear a foundation that would just make washing my face take a little bit longer, when I don't know if I'm going to go on again after I'm bleached off or not, because who's to say I might not do yet another live one after I get out of the shower. I don't know. I mean, I probably won't, but who knows? I might. The great thing about having your own channel is you kind of have the right to do anything you want, and I just love the freedom of just doing what I want. That's probably why I'm single, because people won't put up with me liking freedom so much or whatever, or maybe I don't meet other people's expectations, but I don't really care. So, but here, I will put this here, and I got a mirror here that I used to sometimes have a mirror back over there, and I would do it, and that way it would help me to. I would kind of use that in another mirror, and I would see the back. But the only problem with that is it also showed too much of the mess from other parts of my room. And even though I'm sure the jig has been up on that years ago, I would still like you guys to think that I'm reasonably uncluttered and live like a normal civilized human being. And if I could carry on that charade, it'd be really groovy. So just pretend to think I'm a neat freak, and we'll get along fine, okay? So now we could approach this two ways. Sometimes I actually use a spoon, and I use spoonfuls of it put on there. Sometimes I put it on my hand. This is a pretty thin mixture, but sometimes though you do the spoon thing, you end up wearing it, and it's not good when it gets in your eyes. Now, some people just do it row by row, and yeah, technically you do that because you do want to do partings, but I also like to actually do the perimeter of my hair first. So, and I just got some on my computer. Oh, lucky me. Okay. And I'm starting to break a sweat. Not and that isn't necessarily good because sweat, of course, will dilute the bleach. Right now, I'm using my monitor to see what I'm doing. Okay, hi, Amir. Before bleaching your hair, would you show me your 3M aura mask? You know, I've got bleach on my hands right now. Let me see if I could see any of those masks, if they might be hanging up. Because I will look for it, because I know you like to see that. Hold on a second. You know what? Right now, the only mask I have on, the only mask I have that's hanging up that I can see is this. And I know it's not what you wanted to see, but right now, Amir, this is the best I could do right now. Amir, you know I like you because you always in my streams and you really been there with me, and I just think you got groovy energies, man. See, if I do the perimeter, now the last dye that I used was actually magic marker. It was not even a Sharpie. It was an off-brand of a permanent marker that I found, and it was a shade of purple, and my hair was looking too blue. And even though I did want a purple that was not quite as fuchsia as the color that I've been pretty much using for years, but I wanted something just a little bit less fuchsia, but still purple. But I didn't want it to come off too blue. And so I actually have 8 or 9 different colors running around in my hair. When I lived in San Francisco, I did a lot of magic marker hair coloring, and I would seal it in with a crimping iron. And you know, I should have new crimping irons now. I had made an order for on Temu that the package could not be delivered, and it had a crimping iron, and it had a flat iron, and it had another lipstick, and it had another thing of purple hair dye. And you know, all that time that you're waiting for this delivery from China, and only to find out that they chose a package delivery company that couldn't make the delivery. And you already know that I've been having problems with package deliveries for years in this apartment. Oh, see, this is so thin. You see, I'm wearing it. It's starting to look like an extra in a porn. Sorry if you're offended, but come on, what else are you gonna think when you see stuff like that? You know? Yeah, my channel's definitely for grown-ups, but people have different ways of keeping it real. I just don't want to waste people's time with a lot of BS, you know? You guys probably already know it's very important not to overlap the bleach because you could risk breaking the hair off. And I would never want to cut my hair off. I don't even think my hair really grows anymore. I mean, obviously, since the roots are growing out, my hair is growing, but the ends are probably so damaged that uh, it only grows so far. But I won't get it trimmed. There was like 2 people I trusted in this world to trim my hair. One is this on again, off again porn star gothic guy in Hollywood, California, who gee, that's a long story and I won't bother you guys with it, but he gave my hair a trim once years ago. He even uh put purple in my hair once. But and he's a hairstylist, hairdresser in Los Angeles. And my mother has given me trims a few times, but not before 9/11. I've literally not touched scissors to my hair except for cutting bangs since before 9/11. And as a matter of fact, I probably would like to have my bangs again, but I grew my bangs out one time when I had my hair in the cornrow braids, and I think I look better with bangs, but I don't want them too short, but I don't want them so long that they cover my eyebrows, even though I know bangs are really good for hiding wrinkles and stuff. Ah, that shower and washing of my hair felt so good yesterday. And I know actually it's better to wait a couple of days after washing your hair before doing this, but I don't have the luxury of that kind of time. I'm so lucky it didn't rain last night when I was walking home. That would have really sucked. Yeah, I a lot of times I end up going in my mom's bedroom and having her take a look at me at my hair, because sometimes I invariably miss a spot, kind of like a bishop's cat, right in the back of my skull, and sometimes I don't notice until after I've already rinsed the stuff out. And I'm so afraid of leaving it on too long. But a lot of times I don't have it on enough and it looks a little too orange. It should look platinum, but sometimes it actually continues to oxidize even after you've rinsed everything out and shampooed. And because the oxidation continues, again, I'm really terrified of breaking this hair off, especially once I start doing the heat styling again. For years when I was in Los Angeles, I would crimp it so they get that nice tight zigzaggy pattern. Then I would tease it up, put the Aquanet hairspray in it, tease it up real big, and I miss that so much. Yeah, I'm done at the hotel. I didn't stay last night. I was invited to stay over, but I didn't bring a change of clothes. I didn't bring makeup. I didn't have sunblock on me. And I probably would have been so comfortable that I would have rubbed my makeup off in my sleep. And I very rarely sleep in my makeup anymore, unless I got company. Then, of course, keep my makeup on because you're not going to go to bed with a dog, right? Come on. But now there's a workaround though. I found out. Say you're staying over somebody's house. They say they're letting you sleep on your couch, right? And you wash your face and stuff. You just put on one of those face masks. There's, for facials and stuff. Put that on your face with your skincare underneath it. Then, if anybody comes in a living room or something, they just see you looking weird with a face mask. They don't, you don't have to be this unrecognizable plain Jane bitch that's on the couch. And that's what I do whenever I go to Washington D.C. There's a certain friend that I would stay with, even though now that he's got a girlfriend, I don't think I have that open invite. And actually, I don't think I have the invite now ever since I found out that they're all uh, pro-Palestinians and are not supporting Israel, and especially considering the terrorism and what Hamas has been doing. If people were going to back terrorists, I just, that's worse than even a political disagreement, because I have friends that believe in all kinds of things, vote for all kinds of people, have all kinds of religions, and that doesn't bother me because it's not my business. But if you can stay silent when terrible atrocities are going on, like what happened October 7th, and disregard that, that's just, I find it hard to get past that. And you know what? My hair is, I clipped my fingernails again real tight yesterday, because you can't play guitar with long nails, despite how you may have seen Dolly Parton with the long fake nails at the Super Bowl. Or was that the Super Bowl she was at? Yeah, I guess it was. Um, Whenever I see somebody with long nails playing guitar, that just bugs me no end. Because as somebody who grew her nails out naturally for years, during which time I was not playing guitar, and knowing that you have to be able to press your finger hard on the fretboard, if there's a way you can have long nails besides maybe sticking pieces of potato or wax or something in them, I don't know. But you know what? To be honest, I don't think I have much calluses anymore. I really haven't been picking up the guitar because, well, first of all, to do it outside for a living, when it's cold out there and there's mostly just homeless people and the panhandlers, they're getting all the money. And how would you feel if you were out there for 5 hours and you made $6 or less? How would you feel? I mean, it's similar to being a stripper and getting a no-tip show. Or say you have a YouTube channel and you're checking your stats every 15 minutes to see, oh, so I lost a sub, I gained a sub, I lost 2 subs. Oh, somebody said in the comment that because I said something they didn't like, they're going to unsubscribe. And it seems ridiculous to be focused in on the numbers like that, but so many of us do that. It's something we do. And we creators, we're all human too, but it's hard not to get your ego caught up in your art. And it's not that we want popularity or anything, but we don't put ourselves out here to not be seen. And makeup with glitter, that is such a cool channel name, and I do like makeup with glitter, even though it is true what they say about glitter being really very mobile. It gets everywhere and sometimes it gets in your eyes. And I always think it's funny when you look at eyeshadow palettes and they have glitter parts in them, and yet they have in the back of it, it says certain parts of it don't use around the eyes. It's like, hello, it's eyeshadow, where am I gonna put it? Up my ass? Come on, man. Which, by the way, I wouldn't advise that either. Yes, I will kid around sometimes and I will say some smart ass things. Please, if you're watching me and you're real high or you're tripping on acid or something, please don't take everything totally literally, because I may say something smart ass and I don't want to find out that somebody hurt themselves because they took something too literally. It's like people that dump hot coffee on themselves and they are surprised at how much badly they're burned. It's like, hello, it's hot coffee and you just dumped it. Yeah, don't do that. But yeah, I cut my nails back real hard. So usually I just use my finger, and even through the rubber glove, that is just like a rat tail comb. And that helps me take the sections off. The last time I did my hair, I was really thinking about doing the braids again, but obviously I never got around to it. Just like I thought I was going to get my photo ID, and that didn't happen. And I don't think it ever looked quite purple enough for me to really want to get the ID done, though, because you're going to have a picture that you're stuck with for a while. And I want to still have it look purple enough so that I don't get them arguing with me about my hair color. One thing I noticed the last time I had California IDs, they had a number system for hair colors, not a name system. And all these numbers corresponded to a natural hair color or else bald. They did not have a number for purple, which I think is really odd considering all the showbiz people in California who would have unnatural hair colors. And I'm sure that more than a few of them drive motor vehicles. So now I've never had a passport before, so I don't know if they have a name or a number for your hair color. But if I ever do get a passport, I hope my picture looks half as badass as Prince's last passport picture. Did you guys see that? He looked like Paul Stanley with an afro. It's like, oh my God. He just looked so hot. I still can't believe he's no longer with us. Yeah, this is a real thin mixture. Okay, I got 2 spots on my keyboard already. I should get a tissue of some kind to dry that up. Ugh. Spots. Ugh. My computers get so dirty. out on this filthy floor. I'm sure this carpet's just going to be replaced when we finally leave anyway. It's just, I had 2 cats die on it. And Tabby Boy, see, I remember the last footage I shot of him that you guys never got to see. Because when I lost my tablet, it still makes me sick to think that tablet is either in somebody's possession or in a landfill somewhere with its memory card out. If somebody would just present that tablet to me, I'd give them $100 cash. You saw that $100 bill I have, and that's not counterfeit. If somebody would present that Amazon Fire tablet of mine, they had the contents of the year and a half worth of YouTube videos and footage, much of which was never seen yet, things I never got to post. One nice thing about using computers, they're kind of harder to lose, you know? I'm afraid if I ever do get a cell phone, what if I lose it? I can't imagine having all kinds of irreplaceable pictures and stuff. But then again, I also can't imagine having to deal with a tiny ass screen. How you guys do it, especially, reading text and things. It just doesn't seem like a very uh comfortable, user-friendly experience, even if you have 20/20 vision. I feel like I'm doing this kind of a little blind, but I'm going to keep things positive. No, I do a lot of batch recording, so I have choices of what I'm going to post and when. And that allows me to try to keep it balanced. So if I feel that I'm getting too negative with things, I have some positive things too, especially since I don't have a niche down channel. And I have to think not only of what I want to express, I have to think of the impact I'm having on my audience, of my existing viewers and new people. And I don't want to alienate the people that have been there from the beginning, even though I know it's probably a little confusing if you first started watching me when I was doing a lot of beauty content and things. And I didn't really want to stop doing that stuff. I just felt like there wasn't a whole lot more I could uh, say about the subject. And considering all these young creators, you got 11-year-olds, okay, doing makeup with perfect, unlined, stretched out skin, eyelids that don't rub up against each other. You don't have sagging lids and things. And when you're starting to do your makeup and it's almost finished and it starts to move around before it's even finished, that makes it harder to do a really good makeup job, And when I first started doing my makeup tutorials, I would just have a full face on, come back from the club typically, take it off one side, minus, of course, my eyebrows that I never really removed because, first of all, I can't see doing eyebrows on camera when everybody's eyebrows are different. Second of all, when I don't have the color of my eyebrows, they're so pale you can't even see them. So that's the one thing. If I don't wear any makeup on at all, I feel practically disfigured. I feel like I have this featureless face. I've got such pale eyelashes, you can see through them, and they're not long. Mascara doesn't really do shit. I don't like uh those what do you call those things? The mascara, the lash curlers, because they invariably pinch your skin, and sometimes they pull your lashes out. I would rather not wear fake eyelashes because it just looks too phony, even by my standards. And everything about me that's attractive is probably fake, except for my skin really is white. And who's to say that what I find attractive, other people find attractive? I just never know because everybody likes something different. And I really thought I was going to get thrown out of that one uh, bar last night when the security guard asked me my age and shit. It was like, because I don't have ID, I can't prove anything. But the thing is, If you have people that will be so rude as to assume that you're even older, then why would you have people card you? But then again, why would you not be carded for alcohol but be carded for legal marijuana? When what's more dangerous? It ain't weed. This is starting to lift already. That's good. Now, one thing though, when you're using alternative hair dye things like the magic markers and stuff, you want to make sure that there's no metal in those dyes, because if you have metal, again, just like using a metal spoon or a metal utensil, that will react with the peroxide. One of the things they showed us in beauty school is what metal does. You'll get the bubbling and you'll get a funny smell, a real nasty smell. And of course, hair breakage. So you have to be careful. That's why hairstylists, hairdressers always ask you if your hair is virgin, what you have had in your hair before. And if they don't tell you the truth, how can you give them the best service? Just like you should be honest with your doctors. They can't treat you accurately if you don't give them all the information to work with. Yeah, see, I just put this on, and so this is dark, and the things that have been on for a while has some lift. I still have so much laundry to do. Because I have to do everything by hand, and it's so tedious. And the thing is, my mother, her health insurance. Some people they have health insurance that allows for home cleaners, home health aides and stuff. Hers doesn't. And she's too tired to help around the house. We've got dishes piled up. We have 3 pans of dirty dishes. Uh the kitchen, aside from the nice new fridge, looks like a mess. Uh I have to do the laundry. If a dish gets washed, I'm probably doing it. It's I'm overwhelmed. I've been saying this for a couple of years now. I'm totally overwhelmed. And I love my mother, you guys know that. But if I could only get that other person to pay me what he owes me, and then get my mom to go to the bank and cash in. I got a couple of savings bonds. They're in both our names, but in both our social security numbers, but not my current name. It's in my dead name. And why would I resuscitate that? And the thing is, they need to be cashed while she's still alive, because I sure don't have any credentials in the dead name except for the original birth certificate. I think we must have that, and the court decree documents and stuff. But, and of course, there's going to be a tax liability involved, but you're not talking a lot of money. She says it's less than 2 grand, something. And she's bitching about having to pay the taxes. But I said, look, I need to be able to get that used school bus, take out some seats, add some insulation to it, have a nice enough of a blank wall so that I could do my turnaround, do my YouTube thing. The plan was to have some plugins for Marshall stacks and stuff for music gear and stuff. Even though lately I'm getting so depressed over the music thing, I'm ready to trade all my music gear for the bus. And I'm thinking I could probably park it outside and work on it, live in it, because there's 2 vehicles that people were sleeping in, squatting in right out front. And sometimes they're not allowed and they break in. Other times they are allowed. Apparently, sometimes they're park different places and they let homeless people keep warming them. But then they get mad at those said homeless people because they leave a lot of trash, and there are people dealing drugs out of them and stuff. And there's things that I thought I witnessed, but I wasn't sure. I mind my own business, and I figured, well, they're allowed to. And since I wouldn't want people up my ass saying I'm living in my vehicle, I wouldn't want busybodies to mess with my comfort. So I want to give people the same respect. But in the same token, I'm tired of giving people a benefit of the doubt only to find that they're acting like real it is, you know? And especially when they leave messes right out front, my front door. They're leaving messes, which I'm sure encourages the vermin, where people will stand right in front of my front door. And of course, the peephole is for a much taller person. I am not 6 foot tall, not even. So, and they wonder why they get booted in the ass when you're standing right in front. And then you got these people waiting to be let in the door on the side, and they're yelling, yelling for somebody to let them in. And I've tried to tell people that their yelling is not heard by those people because there's a big firewall separating this apartment from the other apartments in back. And all they're doing is disturbing me and my family. And these people are totally clueless, don't care. When you try to say hello, we have been here for 15 years now. And plus, I thought people were supposed to respect their elders. And I know this person I'm talking to is either late teens or early 20s and stuck on stupid with a crack pipe up her ass and needle in her arm and probably heroin in her nostrils and whatever. You get what I'm saying. And I wanted to hit her so badly. I didn't, obviously, but I thought about it. She just, respect, I understand, needs to be earned. But there's still a part of me that feels that right away you should just automatically extend respect to everybody until they prove otherwise. And that's kind of generally what I do. No matter what you look like, no matter what your religion is, I will automatically respect you until you give me reason not to. And I will take you at your word for the most part, unless you tell me something that I know is cockamamie bullshit. But and sometimes it is easier to just go ahead when people tell you this pie in the sky stuff because I don't really get off on raining on other people's parades unless I feel a need to put somebody in their place because they've been absolutely cruel to me or somebody I love. Or if you're doing something like torturing animals or being a terrorist or something like that, and in which case all bets are off. You know? But I don't think I'm unreasonable. But that said, I'm tired of believing people and trusting people only to have them flake on me. Whether that's acquaintances that say they're going to feed you, or whether it's guitar techs that turn out to be raving lunatic that are also religious nut jobs on top of that, and flakes. Not that I know any of those. Yeah, I think my next guitar tech is going to be in California. Even though I do know some people that are up north, but yeah, I'm getting real depressed on the music thing because I'm afraid I got this one acoustic guitar that has all 6 strings, and I'm afraid if I start to play it, then the strings are going to break. And you already know my issue with the string changing thing. I'm going to turn my head. I don't know what all you guys can see. I could start putting some stuff on blind, but I'm so afraid I'm going to get on where I don't want to. And they always say not to rub it in, but guess what? Sometimes I don't follow directions. See, there's a spot I usually miss is up around here somewhere. What I'd like to do is bleach under here and dye here, which I threatened to do when I was dancing this one place, and some girls objected to my hirsuteness, shall we say. And I said, you keep on messing with me, I'll make this side purple and this side green. She shut the fuck up. I wouldn't mind jumping on those stages again. But I won't do the tip out. I mean, if anybody's going to get a percentage of my money, if somebody had to get a percentage of my money, I suppose it could be the IRS. It's sure not going to be some bartender or some stage mother or whatever the hell they call them. I mean, to me, you're just being pimped out if they insist on taking a percentage. That's how it is. They're not doing anything to deserve that. You know, I don't want to give. I'd rather give somebody a flat fee than a percentage of my, you know. And I don't want, if say somebody offered me some of my art for a movie or something. By art, I mean it could be music, it could be acting, modeling, whatever. But they say that it would be free because it's a student production or because they don't have a budget. But if it takes off, then you could get something. But you can always write in the margin, I'll take 5%, not from the profits in the end, but from the proceeds. That, and if you write it in, then it becomes part of the contract. And a lot of people don't know this. There's actual uh, technical name for that, and I can talk to you about it sometime. I have this book all about sample contracts for uh, entertainment contracts for everything from writers to how actors get paid on films and stuff. I got lots of acting theory books and stuff. I'm kind of stepping on the computer cord. I really don't want to do that because it's not even plugged in. Damn. But you know what? I still got 75% power, it looks like, and I really don't want to be touching electrical things with wet hands. It might not end well. Interesting. Some color is actually on the bleached out area, which sometimes indicates a little metal has somehow managed to touch things, even though I can't imagine how that is because, as you could see, the only jewelry I have besides my body piercings is this ring here that obviously did touch anything because it has the rubber gloves. My hair in the back of my neck is so porous that the dye does not really stay. One thing is weird. I go sometimes a couple months in between washing my hair. The hair dye still fades. Now, I wouldn't be doing this if I had unlimited bathroom access, but the way my apartment's laid out, the bathroom closest to my and my mother's room is the half bath. That means it only has a bath, a toilet, and a sink. The bathroom on the other end of our apartment is the one that has a shower and the bathtub and toilet and sink. And that is closest to the other person that lives here. And he and I do not get along. And he's the one that owes me all that money. And when he's here, he randomly he does a lot of things that are fucked up. One of the things that he does is he goes in there, he doesn't close the door all the way, and he doesn't lock it. And I tend to turn lights out when they're not being used. I'm a little bit stickler for saving electricity because hello, electric bills are expensive. And yeah. So I go in there to turn the light out, and there he is sitting on the pot with his legs spread, taking a dump. And there I am. And of course, I would never open a door on somebody if I knew they were there. And no, I wouldn't be knocking on a door that I was sure nobody was in, especially considering I might not want to be touching any surfaces. I kind of go around not touching surfaces that I don't want to. Okay. So, okay, I'm getting a closer look at comments here. Um, okay, Phil says now you've hit 1K, you could open yourself a Discord where you could talk freely. I need to learn more about Discord. I have joined a few people's Discords through the years. Some of them were gamers who also were or YouTube teachers. There's a couple other people that have Discords. There is a really awesome internet attorney. I don't know if I should drop his name, but he has a Discord, and he labels himself social media lawyer, and he's somebody who I could definitely see throwing some money behind to get some advice, probably when I move back to California. But he has a Discord, and on something about Discord I found confusing, that like when I would get these notifications that I was mentioned by name, and then I would check and I would find out that nobody said anything to me, and I just couldn't figure it out. And this was with computers. It wasn't like, so you know how sometimes the computer has the best functionality and cell phones and other devices don't, but then other things seem to be more cell phone based. And since I don't use cell phones, I really don't know too much about them. And that one that somebody gave me, that real old one, now is so old and obsolete, it's totally useless. And yeah, I don't know how you guys deal with those tiny ass screens. Okay, excuse me for a minute. I'm gonna go into my mom's bedroom and I'm gonna ask her if I have missed any spots. I mean, I don't know what you guys can see, but it's probably hard to tell. So I'm gonna be right back. My mother says it's covered. Now I'm surprised I still have some extra stuff left. Uh, if I actually did dye them, if people be that turned off. I've seen pictures of colored armpit hair on chicks before, and I thought they looked amazing. Most of them were like Chinese or Japanese or something, and they tend to be really beautiful anyway. But then again, I find that people of all cultures can be beautiful. I really noticed that. I've expanded my perception of beauty as I've gotten older, and I mean, I still have my preferences, don't get me wrong, but there's just so much beauty in the world. And I notice when you watch shows like the 90 Day Fiance and stuff where people find love all over the world and stuff, you really see it. And when you see these couples that seem like they really love each other and stuff, you're thinking, wow, they're beautiful people. They're beautiful on the inside, they're beautiful on the outside. You know, it really does happen. And I'm happy for people that find love and are successful and get along with each other and stuff. And that can't be easy when you're dealing with different cultures and family pressures and stuff. So, but there's just so much jealousy with relationships and things. And even though I'm a Scorpio, I'm really not that jealous. I mean, maybe when I was a lot younger, I was, but if you like certain kinds of people that are not known for their ability to practice fidelity, you have to get over it right away. And if you prefer rock star type people, you got to expect that they might very well be big old sluts, and you can't let that bother you. And I'm not saying that you means that you have to just accept whatever. You never have to accept abuse or mistreatment. But I also believe that you should not expect more of somebody than they're capable of. And I'm convinced that most men are not capable of monogamy, and it's not necessarily a natural construct. Yeah, I understand society is encouraging it for the protection of families and the raising of children and stuff, and I certainly care about the safety of children. But that said, polyamorous relationships and families can still raise children, just like if you've watched the Sister Wives, uh, people in polygamous marriages, they can have children that can be well adjusted, as long as the children are treated well and as long as nobody's being abused. So there's lots of different ways to have families in this world. And just because something is a little different doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, but you have to make sure that nobody's being abused and that nobody is uh, risking children's losing their innocence before they naturally would. You have to protect, let kids be kids and let people be, and certainly watch these social contagions that are putting ideas in people's heads prematurely that shouldn't be there. I'm really convinced that if I was a little girl growing up now in the schools now where they tell kids about things that they shouldn't even be thinking about at that age, they would have probably, because I was very feminist and very skeptical of the male chauvinist pigs and that kind of behavior. So they probably would have taken me aside and asked me if I really wanted to be a boy and maybe put me on testosterone and did all kinds of things that do irreversible damage, which they're doing to kids now. And can you imagine me going through that? Not that I ever wanted to be a man, but I suppose I went through a phase for about 6 months when I was 6 years old or something where maybe I wanted to be a boy, but really, kids think all kinds of things. Some kids want to be fairies, some kids want to be dinosaurs. Heck, I had a dream once that I gave birth to a litter of kittens. Okay. Kids are going to think all kinds of things, but there's a reason why kids don't run for president. There's a reason why kids don't control adults. And there needs to be some level headedness and there needs to be some sanity. And of course, what do I know? I'm not a parent. That ship has sailed. I was always afraid of the pain of childbirth. I was always afraid of losing my body. The women in my family tend to not have my body, and I didn't want a lot of the things that they wanted. And I liked things like fitness. I liked things like exercise. I liked things like drugs that made me skinny. I liked to have control over my body so that I looked the way I wanted to. I remember idolizing Cher, and I found out that she was a size 3. I thought if I could ever get to a size 3, and I was as big as an 8, which actually, even though it's considered size small by some companies like Blair, actually it's not really. But then it depends. If you're tall, I suppose it could be skinny, but the shorter you are, the less so. And well, by the time I got to California, I was a 5, and now I'm a 2. So, and the thing is, I do eat whatever I want, but I crave different things. Some days I eat chocolate. Some days I eat a lot of carbs. Some days I eat a lot of meat. Some days I will feast on broccoli and cauliflower. A couple of days ago, I ate potatoes mixed with all kinds of Indian spices and things. We call them Indian potatoes, but I gotta make this on camera sometime. I just don't want to hear from people actually in India that are offended because either that I called it Indian or that I use onion and garlic when that is usually not allowed in Hindu temples and ISKCON, that's International Society of Krishna Consciousness. They don't use onion and garlic. Now, I personally love onion and garlic, but if garlic is supposed to attach you to Maya and the material world so that you're stuck in the cycle of life and death and birth and reincarnation and all that, you know, I can't claim to know what's out there, but I do know this. I have this one life that I know I have. I want to have a quality life. I want to have a fun life. I want to enjoy my friends. I want to make this world as good a place as I can. I want to be of service. I want to contribute something. Because if all you do is take, the Kabbalists have this concept called bread of shame. And what that is if all you do is take after a while, I would think you'd start to feel guilty about it. You start to feel ashamed because if you're just doing the taking, then that's from what other people are giving. Whereas if everybody gave a little, or if you give when you can, how you can, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's time, but just do something. And everybody is going to have different abilities. I'm not T. Boone Pickens, so I don't have billions of dollars to donate to different charities and things. That said, my time is very valuable too, and considering how long it takes for me to earn a penny, I can't always do much with my time, especially now that I'm doing this literally every day. Plus, taking care of my mother, plus trying to clean this house, plus trying to carve out time for a social life. And did I say the struggle of trying to make coin? And I'm doing all these online things that if I get another screen or two, I could do things simultaneously because it's hard to do everything with just one screen. Okay, now I got to do it this timing here. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I actually take conditioner and I soak it in my hair in some spots to help with in case there's any breakage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this away so it doesn't spill on my computer. I'm going to wash off these rubber gloves because sometimes I do reuse them. Then I think I'm going to put some conditioner in my hair. So let me rinse this off. Oh, that took a little longer than I wanted to. This is reasonably clean water here. And this is just some cheap old 69-cent conditioner. And I could see I have a big spot here that actually has bleach all the way down here, and that is not good. So I'm gonna rinse that off. And I'm only doing a somewhat rinse off because obviously that's not good enough to rinse it off. But, and I'm hoping this maybe protects from some damage. I'm gonna just, this looks so kinky to me, huh? See, I used to work one particular dance place in Hollywood that the girls would go on the hour, and their set would be about 20 minutes. Sometimes I would go almost 30 minutes. I was kind of the queen of the long shows. I could dance to a whole album side, like Def Leppard, especially. Oh God, Pyromania album, Stereo album. But yeah, I was known as the queen of the long shows, unless there was absolutely no money out there. But then when the girls would go off, then they would put a movie on, and they were not Disney movies, honey. And some of those movies, we occasionally watch some of them, out of curiosity and stuff. Ooh, see, I got some bleach going all the way down to here, and that's not good. So it should not carry that far. The last thing you want to do is to have it overlap. Okay, I'm gonna dump this in the sink and I'm gonna get clean water. See, this is dripping because I think I made the mixture a little thin because I did not measure the water. See, that was kind of a screw up on my part. But you know what? When you've been doing this as long as I have, you sometimes can play a little fast and loose. I don't think it's that I like to live dangerously or anything. It's just that so much of life is improvisation. And, it's like, look at those people who have a bit of a drug history that have basically used their bodies as guinea pigs. Nobody thinks about taking really big risks. You just hope that you're being as safe as you can with what you're doing. And I always had a safety consciousness from the time I started doing whatever, except for alcohol, something that I don't feel was really safe to do. I tried to find a way to do it in a smart way and keep my tolerance up. And it worked 95% of the time, but that other 5% was a bitch. So when I was out in the sports book with my friend yesterday and everything, I was craving AA meetings. I really was. It wasn't that I thought that I might drink again. It was just, I was feeling kind of sad and I was feeling kind of, sometimes things are a little painful to watch that you see happening over and over again and you can't. I eventually saw a cause and effect relationship between my behavior and the consequences. And, wasn't just the hangovers and the blackouts. I saw that I couldn't seem to get it right. And that is part of how I came to the realization that the biggest improvement I could make in my life was to leave the alcohol alone. And that's how I walked away from it. And I don't need a group to validate me for too much, except for, I'll admit, when a counter goes up on YouTube, that is a gratification. That is, I guess, no different than the likes that people get on social media, or it's a similar pleasure to the tips you get when you're playing guitar. There's things that are monetary, and there's things that are the attaboy, attagirl things, or just having people occasionally say, look, I think you're on the right path, keep on going. You don't need it, but it's nice to hear. Well, that looks like I may have got some. I want to allow enough time for the roots to lighten up without it damaging the length of my hair. I'm so terrified of my hair breaking off. I don't want short hair for myself. I'm not saying it's terrible for other people, even though, frankly, I love long hair on women, on men. I love it. I think it's amazing. I understand sometimes baldness happens, but it shouldn't happen through a cosmetology accident. There's a product I used to use in Los Angeles. I haven't found it in years. I don't know if they make it. It's by Vidal Sassoon, and it was an almond scented uh, protein liquid. It wasn't a moisturizer, but it bonded to the hair. And rather than moisturizing the hair, it added another reinforcing layer to the hair. But it wasn't one of those so-called keratin treatments that you actually have to apply with heat. And some of them, they say, could be carcinogenic during the process. Now, this was just a real good smelling, like a serum, but it had an almond smell to it. And it was really, oh man, it was delectable smelling. And the bottle was only about yo big, and it wasn't all that expensive. But I got it at a store called Pick and Save that I don't know if they exist anymore. It's falling down. I don't want to get a strike for nudity. Don't want to do that. Plus, I don't look like Dolly Parton anyway. So, her, I could see maybe you'd want to see, but well, yeah. I know how I wasn't blessed, and that's okay. What's the back look like? I'm guessing I might have another half hour on this or so, maybe not. I don't know. Just a lot of times I think I'm done with the timing, and then I'll see like a darker red piece, and I find that so annoying. I really want to have it so that when I do put the dye on, it really covers well. Even though the dye always does seem to cover, and it's already starting to get itchy on the scalp, and with no nails to speak of, which I should, you know. Yeah, it's too much color on the edge. Oh, and of course, I'm touching the bleach to my finger, so of course I'm going to be feeling hopeless wonder. Hi. Now, I don't know if I'm going to then start putting dye on my hair right away. I may have to do that. Now, how would you guys feel about, say, I end this when I have to get in the shower, okay? And then say I blow dry my hair, and then say, how's about I go back live and I put some dye in? Would you guys want to do that, or would it, I know that you're watching from all different time zones. Uh, Assuming you guys have the time for this, I mean, I know you can always catch it on the replay. That's a great thing about these things. If you have a scheduling conflict, if you got to go to work, if you got to go to sleep, whatever, you can always catch the replay. But I love the real time interaction that live streams provide. And since I don't know when I'm going to be able to see, I'm in conflict with this because one of the things I like about bleaching my roots is I like having that white look for a bit before I put the color on. But then you know what? Maybe I won't put the color in right away because even if I put the color in, and see, you can't damage your hair with the kind of color I put in. It's the bleaching that if you leave it in too long, you can damage your hair. But the color itself, they're vegetable based dyes that have a conditioning base. So you can leave them on hours and hours and hours. You can apply heat with them. They will not hurt your hair. The worst they could do is stain your clothes. But I don't want to be getting purple and blue and all the colors I use all over the house too. But I know once the other person comes home, the fact that I'm not going to be able to just rinse my hair out the way I like is kind of ridiculous. And most people don't live like this. Most people, when you want to get in the bathroom, get in the bathroom. But and I have dyed my hair in public bathrooms before. One time in San Jose, California, on LSD, acid, trippy. I got some purple hair dye from some punk rockers, and I guess I must have. It was a refresh because it wasn't like I just bleached my roots and I put the dye in it. It had to be a refresh. I used a public sink in a bathroom near an arcade or not an amusement park, but like I'm thinking it was something like an arcade or something around there, but it was in San Jose, and I must have left it a mess. But you know what? It needed to be done, and it wasn't like I had a normal home to live in or anything. And how the reason why I was in San Jose, I was with an organization called Food Not Bombs. They feed hungry people. Famous organization that uh well, politically, I'm sure they're very much on the left. So I'm probably sure that they hate a lot of the people that I love. But they have the premise that feeding hungry people is not a crime, and it shouldn't be. And they would make public displays of feeding people in public places, typically where tourists might see. And a lot of times, mayors of certain city governments would harass the volunteers. And this was happening in San Francisco a lot. There, San Francisco has had some pretty nasty mayors that had total wars on homeless and poor people. And I witnessed a lot of that in my San Francisco years. I would spend like, you've heard this story already. I would spend like 5 months in Hollywood. I would go up to San Francisco for like 5 months. Then I would come back down to LA, put my stuff in storage, and I would go here for a month or two. That was how I lived for a while. Because spending time in San Francisco and Hollywood, you got the best of both worlds. Now, this is before all the crime and the craziness that is going on in California right now. It was actually fun to be a street person, if you can believe that. I had, for my experiences, it was a lot of it was like having a slumber party with some of your best buddies under the stars in an urban setting. It wasn't like how it is now with crack pipes and needles and human excrement and the smell of urine and all that stuff. It was actually fun for the most part. Now it's not like that. Oh, you hear the cops? Oh. Actually, I don't know if that was a cop or if that was a an ambulance. But as soon as this timing goes, I will jump in the shower. I don't feel tired. That coffee I was drinking, by the way, is decaf. So now I would like to explore semi-permanent eyebrow dyeing again, but I got my hands on some henna a handful of years ago, and if you look on the same playlist this video is on, I ended up with some fake black henna that was actually had a chemical called PPD in it that actually can cause contact dermatitis. And that's exactly what happened to me. And we learned about these in beauty school. Once you get an allergic reaction, which is what a contact dermatitis is, when you get exposed to that allergen again, you get the same kind of reaction, only even worse. And I had these blisters all in this area. It looked basically like VD on my eyes. Okay. You don't want to mess around with your eyes. And the thing is, I use this was a cheap dye that I found in these Indian shops where you can buy all the different kinds of rice and all the different kinds of just all kinds of wonderful spices and stuff. I don't shop in those stores anymore now because they also sell a lot of Muslim stuff. And, I just, knowing that when you buy halal things, the money goes towards certain charity organizations, some of which actually donate money to the families of suicide bombers. And can you imagine money rewarding people for killing your countrymen and soldiers and committing terrorist attacks and stuff? I don't want my money supporting that stuff. So I try to be careful of where I buy from. It's not that I don't love people. It's not that I have prejudices. It's that I want to make sure that my money is going to causes that align with my values. That's why if I could buy products from the state of Israel right now, I would, assuming I can afford it, of course. And another thing that I like about buying from these Chinese companies on sites like Temu and Wish, I at least I'm not supporting these multinational national corporations that are trying to shove certain things down people's throats, like the DEI stuff, and which ends up discriminating against qualified people. And there's things I'm learning about things like the aviation industry, for instance, and even in our own American military, where there's so much emphasis on diversity training and making sure that all genders are represented. And apparently there's 50 something or 60 some people think. And it's like, I didn't fail biology. Matter of fact, I got A's in biology in high school. I took, this is no lie, I was drunk on wine and I got an A on my biology final freshman year. Was it freshman year or was it sophomore year? I forget. I was a little naughty, but I wasn't a bad girl. I just, I got a taste for partying. And I didn't do it so much that I was really adversely affected as an adult. But obviously, as somebody who knows now that she can't drink liquor safely, and so I'm absolutely terrified of it. And especially after seeing what it allows people to do, throw all their money out gambling and stuff. And especially a lot of these guys that I know that are literally, they wake up with the shakes and they have to go to the liquor store as soon as they wake up. And they sometimes make pretty good living doing different things, and they go to the casinos and give all the money back and they spend it all on alcohol and they've got nothing to show for it. And or the people I know that are homeless, and some of them have pensions from the military or whatever, and they're still sleeping on buses. They'll ride a bus going clear up the Tom's River and then on to New York City, and then get on the bus back, and then sleep for a couple hours on each leg of the bus. And first of all, sleeping curled up on a bus is not comfortable. Hello, I know, but doing that just to keep warm. Oh, and I found out something about the tent cities that were taken down here in town. If you are following that or know about that at all, I was told today that what was done with these people, since we've been having some code blues, and sometimes it's really, really cold, and I think federally by law, they have to try to bring people in. They took some people in, they put some people, believe it or not, in the Borgata Hotel Casino, which I can't imagine poor person being stashed up in a fancy casino hotel like that. I mean, not that they might not deserve it if they don't fuck it up, but that's a ritzy place. But I heard put a lot of people in hotels way on the mainland. I would think that you would put them near where they could see their friends. I wouldn't want to be stuck out in the boot docks or something, which to me, Egg Harbor Township or Galloway or whatever, since I haven't driven in a long time, to me, that's so out of the way that is kind of like out in the boondocks. And I'm sure they're great places and stuff, but I would not want to be so far away from my social life, especially if I didn't have a vehicle. And if you have a vehicle, you have to worry about being sober enough to drive the thing. And that's a great thing about public transportation, is that you could smoke weed until your nose turns green and you don't have to worry about being dangerous to drive. I love public transportation. I think one of the greatest things about how Los Angeles has changed since 9/11 is they have a subway, they have light rail. I was always able to go back and forth to the clubs using the Santa Monica bus. Santa Monica line always ran 24 hours. And if you take that, it runs largely parallel to Sunset Boulevard and Hollywood Boulevards, except where things converge and stuff. And you're Lordy Gordy. Hello. That's catchy. I know I'm squinting like this. The fumes from this are starting to burn my eyes a little bit. Oh yeah, getting back to LA. Their public transit is so good now. And the people that say nobody walks in LA, that's not true. That's not true at all. And certainly if you're going to be drinking, don't you think you want to take public transit? And not everybody has a cell phone that apparently you can't do Uber or Lyft unless you have an app and a cell phone, or unless somebody calls one for you. I've never been in Ubers or Lyfts. First of all, you're taking a chance because you're hoping that the person doesn't molest you. I've heard of cases where women have gotten raped on these things. I don't know how often it happens or something, but I love buses and I love public transit. When I lived in LA, I usually get a bus pass. Even if I'm only there for a couple of weeks or something, you can get weekly ones and you can get monthly ones. The last time I heard a monthly bus pass was like 80 some dollars an hour or something. That's just like the last time I was in New York City, a 1 day subway pass was like 8 and a quarter. I'm sure it's gone up since then. I haven't been to New York City since I think 2011, I believe. And the last time I was there, I went to the Gay Pride Parade. Now, first I went to pay my respects at Ground Zero. Then I went to the Pride Parade, and thunderstorm happened. And I mean, lightning was going down, and people were doing whatever in the parade, and they didn't seem scared of the lightning. I was a little nervous about it, but at the time, I assumed that the skyscrapers protected you from the lightning. They acted like lightning rods. And I emailed somebody from the Weather Channel when I got home, and he said, no, the skyscrapers do not attract the lightning away from you, no matter where you're at. If you're outside and you start to hear rumbles of thunder, get indoors right away and stay away from windows. It's no joke. I remember too many lightning deaths here in town during some of the casino construction. Some guys would be on the roof working on things, and they got struck dead by lightning. And you don't forget those things. I was going to go out that day, and I saw the radar. Says I'm not going out, and I would like to know why the construction foreman let them go out there, especially considering that all these construction sites had cable TV where you had access to radar. You guys should always keep monitoring the weather to make sure that people are safe. And now you got to worry about tornadoes and stuff. I'm thinking, say I get that bus, I would love to be able to own enough land so that I could build something, say that you can, like an underground parking garage, so that you could stash it underground, so that if you get one of those twisters, you don't get everything blown away. It makes me so sad when I learn about these tornadoes coming into neighborhoods and they just people's houses. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to hit us, but uh, well, I know some people in Iowa, and they're saying on the they're expecting a big blizzard, and it might be impacting the caucuses, and they're worried about people's safety, and they're saying that if you live in there, you're pretty hardy and kind of used to the weather, but if you want to go out and vote and do your caucusing and things, those are very important things that you have to be safe doing them and stuff. I'm lucky my polling place is a very short walk away from me. And even if they moved it to this other church, it's still easy to get to. But I'm wondering if I shouldn't try to do an extremely early vote so that I can vote for the person that I want to vote for. But I'm wondering what happens if, say, you cast your ballot for somebody, but by the time it gets to your state, that person's no longer on the ballot. Does that mean, okay, I shot my shot? I can't really vote now because the person I voted for is no longer running, but yet they say, okay, you've already voted, and they say, one person, one vote. So, not sure exactly how that works, but I've never done. Normally, I do in person voting, except for my California years when I had the permanent absentee voting status that they gave the showbiz people. I'm guessing they probably still have that option available. And I'm sure it's been expanded to shut-ins and maybe disabled people or something. I have mixed feelings about that. It seems to me that it would be hard to prevent voter fraud. I should be careful. Maybe I should change the subject a little bit because YouTube has a habit of taking down my live streams when I talk anything political. And it's fucked up because if I sang to you a love song about how much I love Democrats and I love Joe Biden and I wish I had his brains and I wish I had his spunk. Now, he does have great skin and his wife is beautiful. And Hunter's probably the hottest looking crackhead artist I've ever seen. But you know what? I'll shut up. Really, I don't. I take no pleasure in seeing people get paraded in front of courtrooms and yell that and stuff, unless you're an absolute scumbag, like a person that's killed animals and did terrible things. But no, I don't take pleasure in people's misfortunes for the most part. I just, because you know what, none of us are perfectly innocent. None of us are without sin. None of us can say, I've never done anything to hurt people. Nobody could say, I've never done anything to take advantage of anybody. I'm not perfect. We've all done things we've been ashamed of. So I take no pleasure in some of the stuff that I see happening to people. But that said, oh, and I do want to explore Discord more to see just how free I can be. I know Twitch, you can't say everything you want to. They're real strict on the hate speech. I don't even think you can insult the Black Lives Matter movement without them getting mad at you. And yeah, there's a whole lot of people that think that you're being racist when you're just telling the truth and you're not. You know, you got to try to figure out what's going on in somebody's heart before you assume that they mean ill. I I'm probably going to get kicked out of the GOP for some of the shit I say. But the thing is, I don't feel that I should need to pass a litmus test for just how authentically this or that or whatever. It's just like how many of us are pure anything. I don't think it's possible. If in fact the human race is all related in one way, then yeah, we can never be pure anything, because if we all really were related, if the Adam and Eve thing was actually true, then I have a little bit of all kinds of blood in me and nobody's pure anything. But anyway, I'm not saying I think even those stories were true, because frankly, I don't know. I mean, I would like to get more into. I have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. But the thing is, you know what bothered me about that book? I have an English translation of it, and there's a verse in it that says that women are unintelligent and need protection. And when I read that, that really bothered me. That really put me off, because who wants to be reading in a holy book that they, by virtue of their gender, are not intelligent? I know that that doesn't apply to me. But however, I do know that there are gender differences. I know that most men, if I arm wrestle them, I'm not going to win. I know that I don't want to compete against men in sports, and you know what I'm referring to. I think it's sickening, the people, women and girls, who've been studying for years and years and years. They have a sport that they love, and they're going to get a college scholarship, and they get beat out on pure physical strength and an unfair fight. I mean, look at boxing, men boxing. There's all these different weight classes. You got your bantamweights, you got your heavyweights, all the different things. I'm not really don't know a lot about boxing, but I'm just saying you're not going to have a bantamweight going against a heavyweight, right? Well, then why would you have women and girls competing against transgender who have longer arms, bigger lung capacity, longer legs? They're going to swim faster, they're going to run faster, and women and girls' careers are being destroyed. Maybe have a second category just of trans. And plus, have you noticed that female to male trans, you never hear about them getting in men's sports? I mean, because the size differential. But if you talk basic biology, you're going to offend a lot of people now. See, the world is so bass backwards now, isn't it? Or is it just that I'm getting old and crotchety? And hello, I'm not looking at an old crotchety person now. I may be a curmudgeon, okay? I know I am. You live long enough, you see enough stuff, it's hard not to be. Ah. Be careful with Discord. Sickos will gather on them and you can get blamed for other people's posts. Oh, see, now that's another thing I don't understand. If you are a free speech platform, just like with the comments I get in here, for the most part, I allow free speech, even if people say bad words. And by bad words, I don't mean cunt and fuck. To me, those are just words. I mean words that some people may consider offensive. Now, if somebody was to go in a chat room and publish a recipe for how to cook cat meat, for instance, okay, that I would not allow. If somebody was to get one of those books that give instructions on how to make bad things, and I don't want to say the word, but let's just say it rhymes with aplomb, I would not allow that. But if somebody's just calling a name or expressing uh, a political concept that other people might not like, or even if somebody calls Trump an asshole, I'm not going to censor that. And if people get a little bit rude to each other, as long as it's not really escalating into actual threats, I let a lot of that go because I believe in free speech. Now, I'm not going to tolerate if somebody doxes myself or somebody else. And I would reserve the right to correct some information. If, say, somebody says something and I know for a fact it's not true, and then I would, of course, say the truth. But then again, it could escalate into an argument. But the thing is, if I don't have people moderating me, I would hate to think that responsibility falls solely on myself. And I don't understand how a creator can get in trouble just for comments other people make on their posts. And if you truly are about free speech, why would you want to censor other people's things? As long as you're not shouting fire in a crowded theater, right? And I know that I want my creations and whatever to be a force for good in the world, good as I see it. There's some things that we're not all going to agree on. Some people think, how can you be a force for good if you are in a different political party than they are in? Just like I'm sure there's some vegans and vegetarians that think, if you're eating meat, how can you be any good for the world? And I like meat. I like vegetables too. I like a lot of things. There's things I don't like that you guys might think are offensive. I don't like cheese, for instance. I don't like the taste of milk. Some people think that that's ridiculous. If I had to live in a pizza shop, it would be hell because I wouldn't like that. So, some people that love dogs a whole lot wouldn't appreciate a person who loves cats. So there's lots of differences, but I don't understand why a creator should be held liable for the comments in their chat room. Just like, you guys could be saying all kinds of obnoxious things, and I should not be responsible for it. I would prefer y'all get along, but there have been a few times when I felt that I was ganged up on. And so I had a few live streams where some people showed up and they were just being obnoxious. And during those times, yes, it would have been nice if I had some friendlies that maybe showed up that at least shouted down the people or came to my defense. I've never ever given there's a wrench thing that you can actually give people moderation things. I've never actually done that. Well, a lot of times my hands are wet or something and I can't touch a keyboard. Let me check on my timing here. See, it looks really white here. It looks less white here. What does it look like back here? But what I don't like about the hair is it's feeling really stretchy, and I don't like that. That suggests it might be a little too. See, it looks too yellow. I would want it to look a little whiter. But you know what? I'm going to be covering it in dye anyway. Ooh. See, now that's another thing that scares me. I've been in all ages clubs before where you've got the over 21 section, but the dance floor is all ages. And yet there's wristbands and the minors can't be in the bar area. And the problem with that is, say you see a real attractive person on a dance floor and they could be 15, it could be a 15-year-old girl with titty tape. Okay. And this, from personal experience, I saw this at a Gothic industrial club in Philadelphia a couple of years before the pandemic. And I remember I used to have to talk my way in bouncers because, of course, they wanted ID and I didn't have ID. And it's like, and the bouncers sometimes was younger than me. And it was disconcerting to be hanging out with these really attractive people. Some were a little too young. But a lot of these crowd, half the people had their faces in their cell phones. And one thing about these clubs, it was really hard to meet people as a single person. And like I said, I like hair. And if hair is one of the things that I'm looking for, sometimes if I limited myself to people that was exactly in my decade, I just, you know, that's where it gets tricky mixing ages and things. But if say things were at least 18 and up, but now how do you make sure that the people are only 18 and are accessing things? Now, how do you, and say you don't have ID, how do you prove that you're 18 and get on these things? Not everybody has a credit card that maybe could be a way to prove it and stuff. And it's just like, I would not want the responsibility of carding somebody and making sure that they're, because I mean, I know how I would feel if you tried to card me since I have no way of proving it. Even though I'd like to think that all you have to do is look at my face and say, oh my God, yeah, she's not a kid. Okay. I've had people be that rude, and right away the first thing out of their mouth was some words to the effect that I'm not all that young. And that's really hurtful when people do things like that. You know, uh yeah. But bottom line is I'm not looking for trouble. I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt impressionable young people. I don't want to cause problems for anybody. I certainly don't want to corrupt kids. Kids grow up fast enough, even though maybe at the time we think that childhood's overrated, we just want to do what we want to do. I understand how I could have been harmed personally if I was growing up now with all this weird gender ideology that's being forced in some school systems. And yet at the same time, I can understand the need for people to whom it applies to want to see themselves in literature, to want to get some kind of validation that they're not the only one. It must be extremely alienating to think that you're different in some ways and not know why, and think that there's something wrong with you. And I feel compassionate about that. But I also feel compassionate about the idea of social contagions and things that you never would have thought of before if somebody had told you something, and then the light bulb goes off in your head, and then you have this wild imagination, and then next thing you think you can be a fire breathing dragon, or no, I really identify as a Martian, or uh fill in the blanks. I can understand not wanting to entertain somebody else's delusions. And yeah, it's really complicated. I'm glad I'm not a parent. I'm glad I'm not an educator. I'm glad that I'm not uh entrusted with the responsibility of protecting vulnerable people, because it's hard to do. Just like it's hard to take care of an aging parent, just like it's hard to take care of a dying pet, especially if you don't have money for medical care. There's just things that there's so much hard about life now. And I don't know if it was always this way. Like people are talking about how expensive things are and how hard it is for people who don't know if they'll ever get to be a home buyer. Yeah, well, I spent some years in the vampire subculture. There used to be a site, I don't know if it still exists, called Sanguinomicon, and I forget, I think that was it. Oh God, there's some other ones. I was in for a while under an anonymous uh username, because obviously when you talk about subjects like vampirism and a lot of occult things, there are some people that hate it so much to the point where people are afraid of their safety, because they're afraid some person in another religion might attack them because what they're doing is satanic or whatever. And there's a lot of people that are in fear of, and they want to, have their anonymity and stuff. But and I do work with energy and stuff like that, which I don't talk about all the time, but sometimes, because I do wear symbols and stuff. And again, they're not fashion symbols, they are real. I discovered it and industrial scene and stuff. I was like a year or so before I went to Los Angeles, they had these punk rock gigs here in town that I first started going to because the graphics and everything looked like metal head stuff because the skulls and the fishnet stockings and the leather jackets, and there's a lot of crossover commonalities amongst the goth subculture and the punk rockers and the metalheads. And when I was in high school, especially like sophomore year on, I very heavily related to the metalhead thing. I wore band shirts and all that stuff, and I got into the studded and spiked leather and all that stuff. And I really haven't progressed from that. But, and I always identified as a combination of hippie, punk, goth, rocker, things like that. I found though that whenever I would go to the gothic clubs, for some reason, even though people were friendly there, I could never get, I could only get so social there. In other words, well, okay, I'll be blunt with you. At Gothic clubs, it's really not easy to get laid. Because, and I don't know why that is. And I'm not sure if that's that way for everybody, but I just found that the people were kind of beautiful when they knew it. And if they didn't know you, they didn't talk to you. And it's like, why bother going to a club if you're not going to meet that stranger? Or if you're already coupled up and your partner's jealous, why do you bother going out where there's a lot of single people and you're just going to tease the single people? Oh, the battery saver's on. Okay, you know what? Oh, okay. All right, I was unplugged this whole time. Now I hope this doesn't fuck things up now. It's charging up. So yeah, but I found if I went to a metal place like the Rainbow Bar and Grill, there, bring it on. There, that was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And man, I miss that place so much. And it still exists. The last two times I was in Los Angeles was in 2005 and 2006. 2005, I went to the Rainbow. And it was kind of weird because I'd recently gotten clean off of alcohol. And since people hadn't seen me since 2001, people that knew me came up to me offering me rails of cocaine, rails of speed, cocktails. And I had to tell them that I got clean off of the drugs and I got sober off of the drinking, and all I did was the weed. And having to tell each new person, and they were little people would sneak up to me, cover my eyes, and stick a baggie under my nose. And it was a tiny little baggie full of white powders. And it always feels a little sad to have to tell each person that I used to love those things and I don't do them anymore. But what really bugged me was, even though they played the rock music that they always did, the people that were sitting outside, they was all rappers and gangbangers and that subculture. It wasn't the rockers. And I didn't go to the Rainbow to see Yo MTV Raps. I went to the Rainbow to rub elbows with the hair farmers, the rockers, the 70s and 80s style rockers, the metalheads, the classic rockers, that aesthetic, that just warms my heart and my soul. And the Gothic people, they're beautiful. But of course, I would occasionally do things like wear a psychedelic acid trip lime green to a goth club. So, in my defense, you could probably get away with it because of typo negative. Uh, and a couple of days ago was the death anniversary of Peter Steele. I got to make a mention of the late great Peter Steele of typo negative. All right. Sorry to keep you up. Well, thank you for checking in, your Lordy Gordy. I hope I'm not overwhelming you people with my stories. I'm just speaking my truth. I've had an interesting, fun life. I'm not ready to check out anytime soon, mind you. All right. Looks like I'm should be ready to go wash this out. I may or may not go back on to dye my hair. Maybe I'll just dye it tomorrow. I don't know. But thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna rinse this out. And I'm definitely going to rewatch the comments here because you guys gave me a lot of food for thought. Thank you guys for watching my hair bleaching live, and maybe I will talk to you guys tomorrow.